Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have a compilation of scenes where Nick Viall calls Charity messy and more toxic than he anticipated. And look, I'm not blaming him. I'm going to listen. So here's how it goes, right? People go, oh, you didn't like Nick. And I got no problem with Nick. I actually think he gives us a lot of content that is counter to a lot of content that other people give us, which is nice. It's nice to hear someone who wants to, can look at it with a critical eye, right? Well, he's watching Charity's season and he's going, oh, she's actually messier than I thought. I thought she would be, maybe as a therapist, I thought she would just be non-problematic. And I'm not saying she's problematic. Either way, we're going to listen to what Nick said and then we can decide if we agree or disagree on that. But first, Charity's actually been pretty good with her social media. She tweeted, are y'all tired messaging me for me to send Braden home yet? Go to work and respond to your emails. And by the way, Braden came to my stand-up show last night. I met him and his dad. They were nice people, and look, I mean, the way you act on a show, like, if you haven't been on the show, you can't pretend to know how you would act, how your jealousy would creep up, your inner issues, your whatever. So we watch this respectfully, or at least we should respectfully, from an eye of compassion and grace, because we haven't been in that situation. So anyway, Charity says, happy Wednesday, new thing to add to your to-do list. Go listen to Game of Roses podcast and still hush. Well, and by the way, Charity, look, I know I'm big on YouTube. I'm not as big on Instagram, so maybe we haven't gotten Charity yet. Hello, Charity, your boy's over here, Power Recapper, featured on Time Magazine. Let's go. How about a shout out? I'm kidding, but I'm not. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. Just kidding. I'm not kidding. All right. So anyway, let's get on. And by the way, she has shared some other things here. She shared Hannah Brown, one of the messiest bachelorettes of all time. Her shout out. Have a listen.
On some TV, watching this guy in the back. That was close. I love Charity so much. I think she's the best bachelorette.
All right, so there it is. Hannah Brown says she loves Charity so much and she's the best bachelorette. All right, let's go to what Nick has to say. I've got 5 different clips. Let's have a listen.
We have a lot to get into. I'm so excited that Charity has a bad picker. I wasn't sure after episode 1. It was too early to really make any concrete decisions, but she's a little messy.
I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that. No, we've seen it in the past though. Like Tayshia with a couple of her guys. Like she had
Whoever said Tayshia had a good picker?
I do think she does. And I also have a
My question with Nick here, and I love that immediately his guest is pushing back on him, which makes for good radio. It's always good to have people that are going to push back on you. My thought is, how can you say Charity has a bad picker? I mean, she can't keep all the good guys and get rid of all of the villains. You know what I mean? Like, this is what's crazy with Nick. It's like, he was on the show. Don't you remember? It's a negotiation. All right, I like these 7 guys. All right, well, if you like those 7 guys, give us these 4 guys, keep them on the show because they'll be entertaining. In the end, they have to make it so that Charity wants to get good ratings, right?
I want to pick with you guys because I remember last season we were talking about who would make a great bachelorette and none of you said Charity. I think she's holding her own. She's like way more entertaining than we saw
so
on
far. Yeah,
Zach's season.
She is way more entertaining.
Yeah.
Than I anticipated, mostly because I think she's got a terrible picker, and I think she's a little messy.
I don't know about that.
And she hasn't dealt with the fact that she was cheated on. Kathy, when you're watching episode 1,
yeah,
and Braden sits down,
yeah,
and the first words out of his mouth are, I just got to tell you, I've been cheated on too, and just like we can relate, and just like that wasn't a red flag. Like if you sat down on a first date, and I understand it's The Bachelor,
yeah,
so things move a little quicker, but
yeah, they're trying their best to like find common ground and have a conversation, and not to mention producers are saying, "Hey, go in there and talk about this."
this was literally their first. Well, I don't.
Was I on the show? It almost feels like sometimes when I cover these topics, like I'm the one who was. I wasn't on the show. He was. He knows that's irrelevant. Just because they showed it on the edit doesn't mean that was the first thing that was said.
No, per what we saw, it was their first conversation, and the first words out of his it's not like, hey, how are you? Just like I'm a little nervous. It's like, hey, I just want to tell you something. I know you were cheated on. I was cheated on too. And
he didn't say that when he came out of the limo.
No, their first conversation.
I know.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
you're
they'd
right.
already had some conversation. Maybe there was something else that was cut out.
Who is this? Who is this guest here? Kathy Kelly. She's immediately got the same opinions I have on this, which is, what are you talking about? That wasn't the first thing they said.
Where they had even a few sentences and he was just trying to relate. Like, honestly, the first episode, I thought Brayden was normal. I thought he was like a giddy little school kid. And then he whips out these earrings in episode 2. That I'm like,
by the way, I agree with her. I thought he was normal, if not on the side of giddy, which it's like, look, you cannot like a guy for being giddy. And if you're like, oh, he shouldn't kiss and tell. I get it. He couldn't. He was gobsmacked by Charity's lips, and he just couldn't get over himself. I mean, really, this is the big villain moment we're thinking of? All right, anyway, he says he thinks she's wonderfully more messy. We'll go to the 22-minute mark because we have 3 different videos we're going to share here. This is from 9 days ago, so this is early on, you know what I mean? And we're going to get some more sample size. And by the way, here's the thing, right? We can argue each other's points. Like, I think Nick has a shoddy point there about Brayden, awkwardly talking about cheating. I think it's a shoddy point. Doesn't mean I don't like the guy. You know what I mean? So many people, they think that there's so much sensitivity over like so-and-so's beefing with so-and-so. No, if I were on the show, I would be disagreeing with. I would say, no, I didn't see it that way. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not a controversial a person in any way, but I just see the comments of people being like, oh, you must, so and so, this guy. It's like, no, I think it's a shit take. That's all.
Comes to us, like, we can be messy, and I think Charity is wonderfully more messy than I have anticipated.
Yeah, I feel like open-minded people are like a lot easier to fuck with. I think.
Well, it just feels like she's willing to. She can see it and she hears it. Like, whether it's the spring break comment, whether it's the class list comment. And she'll even articulate how that doesn't sit well with her. But I think I'm missing, like, okay, then what do we do about it, Charity?
Yeah.
What conversations do we need to have? Who do we need to send home?
And I just think Charity would rather have Brayden, a guy she actually feels feelings for, than a nice guy like Warwick where there's nothing there. It doesn't mean Brayden's the only guy there. She didn't send everyone else home. If anything, you could say someone like Claire Crowley had the bad picker because she kind of created this whole identity around Dale Moss, and maybe that wasn't the right guy, whatever. But that's not what Charity's doing here.
And maybe that'll happen. It's only episode 2.
It's early, but yeah.
Can I just say, I at one point during the second episode turned to Allie and I was like, granted I'm from the Northeast. Like, I've lived in mostly cities my whole life. Like, have you ever heard someone who talks like that with that specific intonation? Allie was like, no, I haven't.
How does she talk?
She has just a very specific way of she laughs and talks, and she has this idiot.
No, it's Carolina. She's from the Carolinas. That's kind of like a southern. She's got a southern Midwestern blend there. All right, so we're gonna go to this clip. This was on his next, or this is from a podcast maybe a day before.
That's so far so great. I'm really entertained by Charity. I think in the best possible way. She's a little more messy and a little more toxic than I anticipated. I'm sure she'll figure it all out.
I would push back on the word toxic because then it gives chumps like me the ability to write she's a little more messy and a little more toxic than I anticipated. I don't see her doing anything toxic. I almost see her giving the men a longer leash than some people would. Like maybe Claire Crowley was on the anxious side of things where if you didn't look at her right away, she's like, yo, get out. I don't want that. No, I'm here for the right reasons. Time's of an essence, this and that. Charity's like, I got all the time in the world. Charity's like, well, what do you want from me? Let's do it. All right, you're here on spring break. Let's take you on another date and find out. Charity's just giving more grace, and I don't think that's toxic at all. Feel free to disagree. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Let's finish this clip up.
She is obviously an intelligent queen, but I am enjoying her making some bad decisions for herself, at least early on in this season. So if you're not watching, I highly recommend giving it a shot. And then also we have Marie Ford.
Okay, so then let's go to our final clip here. And this clip, let's see what this one's all about.
Hate Brayden as much as I do.
Do they hate Brayden?
Let's go back, and they're talking about Brayden.
What has the audience's reaction been to the first 2 episodes? What are their reactions been to Charity? Do they
hate Brayden as much as I do?
Do they hate Brayden, or do they think Charity has that?
Hate's a strong word. It's a strong word. Like I said, when you get to know these people, a lot of times they don't get cast on these shows by mistake. They're great conversationalists. They're very charming. Here's Brayden. And again, why do I have to be pimping for Brayden? It's not necessarily because I met him. It's because when you meet these people, like, you have to remember when people didn't like Logan. Logan came to my stand-up show last night. I knew Logan way before he was ever on The Bachelor. I've known him for a long time, and he was a good guy. Oh, he's an F-boy. People like Logan now, but you have to remember, they looked at Logan the way they were looking at Brayden, and you go, all right, calm down. If Brayden's biggest flaw is that he's giddy and excited and inexperienced in long-term dating, he's 24. Are we going to hold that against him? I mean, by the way, he's older than Natalie Joy, I believe. But my point being is, hate's a strong word. But again, that's just my opinion on it.
Kind of little tint of toxicity that we've been talking about. Do they agree that she's a little messy in the best possible way? What has been Bachelor Nation's reaction?
By the way, I've seen jihad videos that have higher megapixels than this one. You know what I mean? I've literally seen hostage takeover videos with higher bandwidth than this.
Tint of toxicity that we've been talking about. Do they agree that she's a little messy in the best possible way? What has been Bachelor Nation's reaction?
I don't think people have quite as definitive of opinions as you do, sir. I don't think people
agreed.
are calling her quite toxic or messy. I think I've definitely seen some different opinions. Feels like
people are saying she's one of the best ones so far, that she's having a fun season. She's letting things play out. She's not jumping to conclusions.
people are a little split on Brayden. I think a lot of people are seeing red flags, but then other people are like, well, maybe he was nervous or maybe X, Y, and Z. Like, I feel like with a lot of them, because it's so early on in the season, it's like, okay, well, can we give benefit of the doubt? I see this. Maybe this.
And I'm not saying Brayden's going to turn out to be this shining star that everyone aspires to be on the show. Maybe he spirals out of control. Maybe he gets in a fight with another guy. Maybe he says things he regrets. All I'm saying is, when I met him, and that's the only intuition I can use, he was a good guy. And all the girls that were at the stand-up show that were like, oh my gosh, you're on the show, they were very happy to meet him. He was very nice to them. He was very conversational with everybody. And I think we need to lower the bar a little bit. And I know that's not super sexy to say, and I know that's not going to sell a bunch of headlines here. Lower the bar a little bit. Do we really hate Brayden? Come on now. Is Charity really messy? No. So I disagree with them there, but also I think, I can understand where Nick comes from saying, oh, I thought she was going to be very boring, and she's not. I understand that side of things. Let me know what you think. I'll be live on Patreon right after this, patreon.com/Dave Neal. I've got stand-up comedy roast coming out on my Instagram of Katie Thurston. I'll share that privately with you guys as well if you want the non-bleeped out version. And I've got a stand-up show tonight at Madhouse Comedy in the Gas Lamp District of San Diego. Plus, this Sunday, I'll have a brunch show, I think midday, in Los Angeles. Stand-up shows coming up August 24th in Seattle and August 17th in Huntington Beach. Link in the comment section to buy tickets for the Seattle show, and we'll be back right after this.